All right. How's everyone doing? I am Rich CELENZA. Thanks for checking out Mastering Self-Confidence Podcast. I changed the name. I got my co-host over here, Robert Benenati. And so I want to get into something today. Something that I'm not even sure if I've ever gotten to this before, even on my program, Mastering Self-Confidence. I did do a YouTube video on this recently, and it seems like I'm getting a lot of people viewing it, and it's on intimidation. So if anyone knows me, I'm always trying to help men master their self-confidence, but I don't think a lot of times we address when we're intimidated by certain things. I learned a lot about this when I was younger. I talk about in the video regarding me growing up in an environment where I had no other choice but not to be intimidated to a certain degree. Now, I'm not saying nothing intimidates me. That's ridiculous. But me being raised in a nightclub bar environment with a lot of adults and being in that environment with a lot of drugs, alcohol, partying, fights, and then on the flip side, my mother being very religious and being around a lot of religious figures, which includes a lot of different religions, believe it or not, besides just being raised as a Catholic, different types of Christians. I realized as I got older that a limited amount of things really intimidated me. And after discussing a lot of things or trying to help people with their confidence, I think people don't want to really say that they're intimidated or acknowledge how intimidated they are. And it can be regarding anything. It could be even, say, going to a gym and, you may pretend like, oh, no, I don't, I'm cool. But you don't go work out because of maybe the way you look, right? You're intimidated to go to the beach because you're afraid to take a shirt off. You may be intimidated because you want to buy a certain type of sports car, but you're afraid to go test the car. I mean, there's a million different things. So, Robert, that's why I kind of want to have you on here regarding this subject matter, because you deal with a lot of, being in the real estate industry with a lot of very different types of people, especially wealthy people within the Orlando area, in very beautiful areas. So, that's got to be a little intimidating on you, right, or no?
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me on the show. Yes, especially at the beginning of my career. And for me personally, I always said that lack of confidence is a lack of knowledge, right? So not knowing something hurts my confidence in trying to sell something or even talk about a subject. If I don't know enough of it or about it, it's hard for me to feel confident to talk about it. So I always said, if you want to build your confidence, build your knowledge around whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, right? So for me at the beginning, yes, it was, and not even the wealthy high end, simply just knowing about a community, a city, an area, and being able to talk about it with 100% confidence or knowledge was intimidating until I started learning. Am I intimidated today after almost 20 years in the business? Yeah, I mean, it can, when you start now, you start selling in the 200,000s, and then you move up to the 400,000 and 500,000s, and then, moving into the multi-million-dollar homes, it's different because you're dealing with someone, someone different than you're used to. Yeah. They're not different as humans. They're just, a different mindset or culturally wealthier, right?
Sure.
Am I going to find myself at par with them?
Yeah.
And that could, be a little intimidating at first. So, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes being naive in life
sometimes,
really works out.
I believe it.
And we don't talk about that.
I've seen people not knowing anything about anything. They just go in and dive in and do stuff, and they come out, on top. I'm like, how the hell did he do that?
My production partner used to say about me talking to anyone, I really didn't care who you were. I don't care if you were broke, on the street, homeless, or you were a billionaire. I mean, I don't think I've ever met a billionaire. That's ridiculous, but a multimillionaire. He says, not only do you jump into a pool head first, you jump in with no water. And I used to laugh at him. And and I talk about in the YouTube video that if you are intimidated by certain situations, and I didn't talk about this in the video, this specific thing, but I remember when I wanted to write a book, and truthfully, I always felt I was kind of dumb. There's no way I can ever do it. It's impossible. I kept thinking about me with, just in school in general, my vocabulary. But I was able in my past to write screenplays, so I had a little bit of confidence regarding writing. But this may sound really fucking weird. I started when I was traveling about, 11 years ago, maybe more, going to places in university towns. So I was going to Harvard Square, not a little, like I was there a few times. Mm-hmm. Then I'd go to Yale, visited Princeton numerous times, Stanford. I've even done videos at these places. And, hanging out there, drinking coffee, eating in the restaurants, meeting professors, meeting all these different types of people, staying in the hotels, and then there'd even be a small seminar going on they would invite me to, or just meeting people there for business. You'd be shocked at how comfortable sometimes you'll become in situations that you're completely intimidated by. It's a flip, if that kind of makes sense. And I think when I wanted to write my book, I'm like, a lot of these people I was meeting too, even in California. I was living in Carlsbad, but I was going to LA a lot of times. A lot of these people in the industry, one of my friends had his own program out on distribution. Another one had she actually did a forward for my book on celebritizing and helping people become actually celebrities, because a lot of people get signed up and then they don't know how to carry themselves. A bunch of different authors. After meeting and talking with them, I'm like, this is what I really want to do. If I was never in those situations or never did that, or met those people, I probably would have never done it. I would have been intimidated.
Those are breakthroughs, right?
Yeah.
You have to face your fears.
Yeah, I was in school. I hated libraries, and then I found the last 10 years of my life always hanging out in Barnes and Noble. Huh. Like it's all these things sound really weird.
Same thing happened to me. I hated reading when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was the type of books I was reading or forced to read, and now I love to read.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you, and I talk about this in my video, if you're somebody who is intimidated by doing something or going somewhere, let's say, more or less than anything else, go by yourself. Just shut the fuck up. I think what people...
Put yourself in that position?
Yes. So if you are...
Get uncomfortable.
100% by yourself. I used to say even... I was so programmed as a young kid, being raised in the bar nightclub business, that even when I was 16, 17, 18, I came to Florida, I had a fake ID. I was going to nightclubs by myself because that's all I knew. And then I started to hang out with, seniors in high school in Florida going to summer school. I would take them to a nightclub. They didn't even know what to do with themselves. Even if I knew, or if I took them to a gentleman's club because I knew a lot of the owners, or I took them to places, they didn't even know how to behave. They didn't even know how to hold a drink, like order a drink correctly, right? I'm just saying. And back to me being comfortable in those environments, I used to be like, why aren't they comfortable? Why don't they have the confidence? Like, I could talk to any girl in a nightclub by myself or with friends or whatever. It wasn't that I was super confident. It was because I didn't know any better, if that kind of makes sense. Yeah. Sometimes, like if you were raised around a multimillionaires, you have no problem being around them, right? I'm just saying. But then if you take...
It's the norm,
Yeah. I remember one time we used to hang out at an Italian restaurant, and there used to be a bunch of New York guys there. Most of my close friends were all Italian, New Yorkers, Chicago, all of us. And there was one guy whose son was trying to become a professional golfer, lived in Bay Hill. And he's like, hey, Rich, get my son to hang out with you and your guys if you could. Just look after him. And I said, yeah, we go out. He goes, I know what you guys do. I think he thought I was a mob kid because we collected money and all this shit. And he even went to travel with us before when we were doing certain things. But he's like, I want my son not to be intimidated by guys like you. I want him to have two separate friends. I don't want him just to be with these golfers or this crowd. I want him to be with your type of crowd. Now, it kind of sounds bad. I didn't want to say anything to him, like, what type of crowd do you think we are? But we were that type of crowd. So I kind of was aware of what he was saying. Even though I didn't get along with the kid, I really liked the dad. But it's interesting how,
Perception.
His dad was teaching him not, because when he'd come to the restaurant and stuff, his son would never even come up to us. But I'm thinking, this kid's family's multimillionaires. They golf. That's the life. Not us. A lot of us we were okay, but it wasn't like we lived that life. And my friends were like, man, who'd want, who wants to go to Isles? I'd be shitting in I can't, being afraid to even go to those golf courses or hang with his type of crowd.
And you guys are probably just sitting around the table just having fun.
Yeah.
But he perceived it as, what are these guys up to? Or
he wanted his son, I
perception.
think, to get tough, right? Or not be intimidated, because
Not
he
be
knew,
intimidated, right.
because he's a Brooklyn wealthy older guy, but his son was never born in these environments. And this kid's in his young 20s. Yeah. It's just kind of interesting.
It's just visually intimidating. It's not physically intimidating.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, like, even if you get around a lot of wealthy people, as you know, you go to certain, I don't know if you have, but I have many times. Sometimes you get around a lot of wealthy people, it could become intimidating. It's almost more intimidating than if you went in the streets of Chicago.
But I think the intimidation about being, around multi-million-dollar people is the type of conversations they're going to bring up.
Absolutely.
Right? That you cannot even jump into that conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like, I just purchased this car and got rid of that one because I didn't feel comfortable in it. And like, dude, you're talking about a $180,000 car.
Yeah.
Right? That I just have the dreams of. Or, yeah, we just went to Greece and from there we jumped to Italy and then ended up in Paris. And I've, because my condo there is, and what are you going to say?
Yeah.
So that could be not intimidating. It could be uncomfortable. It's not intimidating because okay, they're multi-million-dollar people and they got money. They might have these things, and that's fine. But I don't have a conversation so it makes it just a little uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, I go through that with my dad still with these car shows.
Especially when they start, when you get around 3 or 4 of them and they're trying to compete, right, about what they have and brag.
Yeah.
Versus if you just sit with one of them, you'll find that they are cool people.
For sure.
And you can learn a lot from them, right?
Yeah.
Like you just said, just get in the middle of it and learn. And it's happened to me. I've have groups of friends that have a lot of money, right? And they go through all this, and I just have a good time with them. I've learned to just kind of ignore it. Hey, you guys are there. That's fine. I'm not. That's fine.
Right.
I learn from them, and I'm just me.
Yeah.
And they accept me for who I am.
For sure.
So I'm no longer intimidated or uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think, too, when you think of intimidation, I think sometimes when you we'll just use wealthy people, for instance, I think when you get around them, you become insecure or you start judging yourself compared to them, right? So they're millionaires.
You're not.
I'm not. What am I doing here?
What are they driving?
Right.
You're not.
Right.
Where are they going? And you're not.
Exactly. You're judging yourself.
Yeah, you're comparing yourself.
It's kind of a reminder to make yourself feel like you're a piece of shit, but the reality is, I talk about it all the time,
at the end, when you realize they get sick just like you, they bleed just like you, they hurt like you, and when you really get into their circle, you can find that some of them are even miserable, and you're not. You see? And
sure.
And then you start realizing money's not everything. Or you start then really comparing what's worth it. You know what? Their child is an addict, or their child is, committed suicide, or their child, and you're like, I'm blessed. I have my kids.
Exactly.
They're good kids. They're healthy kids. And then you really value what's real wealth at that point.
Absolutely. Your health, especially
your health.
Yeah.
I've known some of them that been through health issues and then you realize that they would trade everything they have just to feel better.
Absolutely.
And that's when you get comfortable and the intimidation washes away.
Yeah, for sure.
So I agree with you. Get in the middle. Get in the center of that uncomfort zone of intimidation, and you'll learn more from it
Yeah, you'll learn a lot about yourself too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, especially with if you want to talk about women, a lot of people, if you do want to meet different types of women and you're alone or you've been divorced or whatever, you got to put yourself out there. I got a news flash for it. You're going to get rejected. But I talk about it in the program. You got to put yourself at the right place at the right time to meet the type of women you want to meet. That's where, say I like Hispanic women, right? And I say someone like me, I can't dance. I'm afraid to go to a Latin club. Well, guess where a majority of the Latin women
are
are
looking for. There.
Right. Well, if you really want Latin women, you find them sexy when they dance, go take a damn dance class.
And you know what?
Go dance.
They might find even sexy a guy, right, that's not Hispanic, in the Hispanic club,
for sure.
trying to learn to dance, something that they find that amusing. They love that, right? But you would just judge yourself and say, well, I don't know how to dance. I'm going to look like an idiot.
Yeah.
But, hey, put yourself there. Maybe you come on top,
Even if you can't dance, just go there. Have fun with them.
Yeah.
I goof around and say, if there's not a gun pointed at your head, you're in control. No one controls your body or your mind unless you allow them to.
No.
But that goes for any situation. I don't care if you want to be a writer. If you want to do real estate. If you want to do whatever the hell you want to do, start surrounding yourself with those type of people and those events. I think at the beginning, by yourself. Don't always have to go with a sidekick, because a lot of times your sidekick may or may not want to be there, may or may not, look like a fool, may want to pull you out of there quicker than you'd want to. I remember even going to L.A., I go for the whole weekend, 3-4 days, go to an event and go to festivals. I'd go by myself. You really realize, who you are when you're by yourself. You're never rushed.
Oh, yeah.
So it could be even going to a movie theater by yourself. A lot of people can't even do that. They're afraid to do that. But they want to go
just have dinner by yourself. Sit down and have
Exactly.
dinner. Try that.
Exactly, man. I'm telling you. The one thing that happened to me in high school is I went to go meet a buddy at the movie theater. We didn't find each other because it was so busy. I was always afraid to go to the movies by myself. From that point on, I'm like, what? I went and saw the movie I want to see. I ended up staying for another movie, and I'm like, why don't I just go see a movie whenever I want to see it? Why do I always got to wait for someone to see it with me? Huh. And anyways, I'm going to wrap it up there. We're going to do short little increments on different subject matters. So, if you want to find Robert, tell him real fast about you a little bit.
Well, I have a podcast, Real Business Podcast. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Yeah, and I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You probably, I mentioned a program, masteringselfconfidence.com. You can find all my shit on richcelenza.com. If you're too busy for our shit, life goes on for all of us, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well,
all right.
Good luck.
Yeah, take care.